But I will say there's a part of it I agree with, which is time isn't what makes you senior, right? Some people you see that call themselves senior just have one experience that they've done for 9 years.
Yo, what's up, guys? It's Lionel the Builder back again with another video, and today we're going to be reacting to Tech Conception's interview. How can juniors become senior? Man, shout out to Tech Conception. I'm so glad I got the chance to talk to these guys, man. They are OGs, have been doing this for a while, over 10 years, both of them. We got an Amazon developer over here. We got Scott, who does some type of contracting, government contracting, if I'm not mistaken, but was giving me valuable information that you don't normally see out here, man. We hit a different frequency that I haven't seen a video talk about this type of stuff here, which is like getting into the nitty-gritty of it all. Let's get into it, man. Without any further ado, I'm Lionel the Builder. Shout out to y'all. Links in the description. Join the builders. Let's go.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're recording now. That not live, but yeah.
All right. Odie. Last time we were.
So I'm gonna react to myself. This is a little cringe for me a little bit already because I've never done this before. But you know, it's cool. It's cool because sometimes when you're doing interviews, you don't always get to finish your thoughts because you know the conversation can trail in any which way. So I figure I would come here and further expound. Why am I smiling like that? Let's continue.
We recorded. We have an unpublished episode on chess, and it was an experimentation on geeking out. Still technical when it comes to strategy and tactics, but that's the last time we recorded, and that was like last week. But we have a new face, Lionel. I discovered him on his YouTube channel. What's the name of your YouTube channel?
Lionel the Builder.
Lionel the Builder. So the agenda, and hopefully I can stay on top.
Shout out to the digital builders.
Topic is going to be the state of junior developers. Hence, me catching a glimpse of Lionel's channel and saying, hey, you know, our Tech Conception channel is more geared towards the business of software engineering, and it's more like business focused in tech, with emphasis on more. At least that's what the vision was. But a lot of our viewers, they tend to be more senior. They tend to be like higher up in the ladder of their career. And what Odie and I,
which is very interesting. I never thought about that. How depending on where you are in your journey, you're gonna attract that type of person. We do have some architects in our Discord as well who have been longer. They say like they're here for nostalgic purposes. We remind them what it was like in the beginning, and it's just our community has grown, but we're mostly juniors and people trying to break in. I've been working on a lot of things for you guys, by the way. Can't wait to show it to y'all. But my bad.
Had wanted to. Ultimately, one of our objectives is to get more viewers and to be able to tap into mainstream without having to necessarily discuss things that we're not really interested about, right? Like, you know, like little tutorials on Java, or like we're not really interested in that when it comes to a beginner level. But I think we enjoy talking and meeting people. And so, make long story short, I know I'm talking a lot, is the tech market is very challenging, and that's me being nice, politically correct. And I think the episode that I caught from you, Lionel, was you were talking about some of the challenges or maybe how difficult it was as a junior developer in obtaining opportunities. And so I'll just set the agenda right there, the state of junior developers. Let me just bring a little caveat to this. So I promise you this isn't about F#. But remember when I said like tactics and strategy? It's especially if the context is junior developers, is you can choose to develop your experience as a software engineer, software developer with a mainstream language. But guess what? The consequence is going to be there's always going to be way more seniors. People are going to be, there's so many more people that are more advanced to you based on the skill set that you chose to earn your living, to earn your lifestyle. Or
they did a slight edit there. I think I had asked something like what was, I think because we were talking about F# a little bit it was like some intro conversation going, and I said something like Why did you pick F sharp or something? And he is basically saying the noob tech stack that we have, right? What is that usually right now? HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, start building, right? He's basically saying that there are so many people who have been doing that from, I almost said the Stone Age, but you know, a long time ago, that are very, very senior at it, know everything about it. So you could jump into a pool of way more people where your skill set as a junior is so at the bottom of the barrel, or you can go be a big fish in a smaller pond, like F sharp, like, I don't know, C sharp, Java, something else that you can still. I didn't know that this was a thing, but that's what he's explaining.
Or strategically, I chose F sharp. Of course, I was borderline senior by then. This is an opportunity based on the research that I've done that in T-minus 36 months, I could position myself to be the technical authority in Florida, the state of Florida, in which I could position myself to earn a higher hourly rate because I'm above my competition, if that. So, I mean, again, maybe that's a discussion.
It's very, very interesting discussion there, man. I've never heard anybody say that. You see that look? I'm like, bro, what? I've never heard anybody say that. So I was definitely thinking like, dude, that's different but it's true. But is that possible? I was pondering like, wait, how do you do that? I'm like, yeah, where's the network? How do you know what's rare and that you could, so many questions open up from that, but we didn't really get into it. But picking something rare that you can be known as the rock star in your city at this one thing, zooming in and becoming a specialist at one thing, and one rare thing at that, where you could get paid good amounts for your knowledge and your very esoteric topic, as a developer. Interesting, right?
Episode, but strategically choosing the tools that you have that aren't necessarily mainstream, that could be your advantage if you project a strategy of 3 years where you want to be the technical authority of Virginia Beach, for example. So anyways, that's a quick little.
I have a question on that. I gotta let you guys know too, I'm a chess player. I play chess every day.
Nice.
So
Okay.
yeah, that's a cool coincidence, man. And I do see how it's related to software engineering and development. But my question is, are there any F sharp juniors out there? Is that a thing? I've never heard of.
Well, I would say the
F-sharp.
majority of people out there are juniors, right? Junior everything, right? Junior C# developers, everything. So the short answer is
Another bar. He said everybody's a junior. And I did see I saw a YouTube video where this guy said there's no such thing as a senior developer. Now, I didn't watch it. I think I added to the Watch and React Later channel because I was like, wow. But maybe that's true.
is yeah. Sometimes when I'm throwing my head, I was live streaming, building a chess game, I think last week, and I felt very much like a junior because there's times where I just get stuck and I'm not quite sure how to get past a certain problem, or do I need to throw away and restart? So yeah, but
Do you need to throw away and restart? That's a tough position to be in when you're building something, man. But that's such motivation though, as to me as a developer, to know that like even the OGs, like, you gotta just get used to that problem solving thing where you're it's not working and you're figuring it out. I feel like that's literally what coding is. We think so much about writing the program, about typing the code, figuring out the logic, but debugging, clearing hurdles, more of your time may be spent there, and get used to it, embrace it.
Lionel, I think the question you were asking is quite relevant, and the truth of the matter is I don't think there are that many junior F# developers. I think most people who are quote unquote junior, developing in F Sharp are usually already seniors in C Sharp or other languages. You get what I mean? That said, I have seen junior F Sharp developers who came from languages like Python, because F Sharp and Python share a lot in similarity, right? Due to the white space, even some of the syntax is very familiar. So I would say that that's the case. And the community has been.
Man, there's so much to learn, bro. Sometimes I feel like there's just so much to learn that I'm in a never-ending pool of where you could just go in any direction that you want in this space. You could go in any direction and you can go down the rabbit hole of infinity of different things to learn. But man, now I want to learn F Sharp and Python as well. I have to add that to my list. Like, I just have to just admit the fact that for the next maybe 10 years or so, I'm going to be constantly learning something, building at the same time. So I may not be able to dedicate much time on Python and F Sharp right now because I'm working on 2 projects that I have to write code for. So I have to stay in the pocket where I'm at until I'm done with these current things that are in front of me. But then after that, I'm branching out for sure.
Has been doing quite a bit to get more people interested, but as a counter argument to what Scott said is, yes, if you pick a mainstream language, you're going to have a lot of competition, but at the same time, it also influences the employers as well. So when they are looking for, developers, they are looking at the mainstream languages, even though there's a lot of competition. So yes, the mainstream languages, you have a lot of competition, but there are also a lot of opportunities as well. So it's almost like a balancing act, sort of. If someone is starting new, I can't really tell them to just jump into F Sharp, because the truth of the matter is that they may not have that many opportunities. And if you're someone who is coming up, the best thing that you can get is opportunities to practice, to grow, regardless of language. In that beginning phase, it's very delicate.
I love the difference of opinions in this podcast for most of the time.
It's compared to.
I had to fix my eyes real quick, but so you know what I'm saying though? Like, he always comes back with the other side of the coin. So he was basically saying that the most thing important for you as a new person is opportunity. So if there is more opportunities in you getting a JavaScript job, maybe you should be there. So you can't necessarily, because the other dude was saying F Sharp first, bigger fish, smaller pond. But then he's like, but there's not a lot of junior positions for F Sharp. That's why this is such a difficult market that we're dealing with, which is also why my new thing is just build something yourself and start to shop it around. That's a long story, maybe for another time, where we talk about creating your own company versus where you got to write cover letters and join another company all the time. I think we should use our own skills as creators in ourselves and create something in this world to then, sell it or whatever. But let's continue before I start rambling.
It's when you already experienced.
It's a double-edged sword. I would argue that if you learn F Sharp, you're going to know C Sharp, because F Sharp is .NET. Hence, .NET is a suite of languages: C Sharp, F Sharp, and VB.NET. And so you're still within the .NET ecosystem. You still pull in the same NuGet packages that a C Sharp application would pull in. I would think that Odie would agree with me that when you learn, if because we're talking about F Sharp, that you begin to observe or see things that normal developers wouldn't see, because it's a different perspective of design. And I mean, again, I'm trying my hardest not to make this an F Sharp episode, but your code usually or your code generally is more testable by default, just because you're using a functional paradigm, and that is not true with C Sharp. It's harder to make an argument for writing automated tests.
I almost opened up a tag just to stop it in Google functional paradigm. I'm thinking if I should break this up into parts, because we're only 8 minutes in, and we're already been shooting for 15, and this is an hour long. But it's gonna be such good information that I could pause it and talk about. So I'm thinking I may have to break this up in parts, but let's continue.
Success with C# compared to with F# when it comes to doing it for a business. And there's a whole bunch of other things. And C#, the latest C# is really F# light. I mean, it's adopted so many features within the last, I would argue, 5 to 6 years from F#. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So Lionel, can you maybe add, because I'm just meeting you for the first time, so if you can maybe introduce yourself, what's your experience been like, etc.
Sure. Yeah. So on my YouTube, I go by the name of Lionel the Builder. I've been working for a startup as a full stack dev. It's a React front end, Firebase back end, ship repair, project management app. Been working for them since November, so about 8 months now. But before that, I was freelancing. I'm a member of 100 Devs community. I don't know if you guys have heard of them. It was started by a brother who went to Yale, and then he had a dream to help 100 developers get hired with the free online bootcamp. And he's got a bunch of videos, different cohorts that he does. And I think the Discord is up to 100,000 or something like that. And it has spawned a lot of developers out there. And when you graduate, one thing that he says is, I asked that you help 3 other people. And I said I was going to do something better, started a YouTube channel wanting to help 100 as well. So now I have a Discord community that's about 250, school.com. And I just talk about breaking into tech, try and make some of the...
Y'all know that feeling when you hear your voice on a voicemail or something, slightly, cringe a little bit, slightly uncomfortable? That's what this feels like. So just to let y'all know, full transparency, this is awkward.
Topics that we know of about coding, trying to make it more transferable to the everyday, guy that's out there. A year ago, I was a truck driver, and I participated in a hackathon. Due to my homework assignment for the 100 devs was to look for a coding meetup or a hackathon. And so I went there, and that's when I got my first chance of working within a team, other than, just having the Git private repo on my portfolio projects and little ideas that I was just tinkering with. And, the connections I made there and the experience, I always say that pretty much changed my life and really inspired me to feel like I could actually do this as a career. And also, one of my lead dev from our hackathon ended up coming with me on my interview, and we both got hired by the startup.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
Yep.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Man, I need to really tell that story, turn it into something I don't know.
See here. Well,
Yep, we ended up winning too. We won the hackathon.
oh wow, what did you guys build?
We built a Dungeons and Dragons companion app. It was mobile. It was for
Nice.
so that instead of carrying all the different books and stuff, you could just have the app while you're playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, sweet.
Mm.
Wow, that's really great to hear. And yeah, it's really nice to hear such stories, especially people who are coming in. And to be honest, I don't really envy you guys, because you came at the point where the complexity is at the maximum. Back in the day, things used to be a whole lot simpler, right? So you just create a simple website, use one simple thing, and you deploy it. So we had a bit of a lower on-ramping, but I always think about it sometimes, if I was starting from scratch, where would I even start? There's just so much information, so much things out there.
That's what
and all of
I
that.
heard before. Somebody said that back in the day, they would hire anybody who could write a for loop pretty much. I mean, maybe that sounds crazy. Maybe that was exaggerating, but that, you know, sometimes they said you have to be careful about taking advice from people who got hired 15 years ago, because it was a completely different landscape, and so they don't really know, they can't really give proper advice because it's a whole nother world now, and like he was saying, the complexity is at an all-time high. Like, barrier entry level, they expect a lot from us, expect you to basically not be a junior when you are, even if it's your first role. And then even people who have crazy experience are getting laid off, and then you're competing with them for that new position. So, woo, gotta have your stuff together.
Seeing that, you know, you've made the effort, you were able to get into the industry with even that high difficulty, that's really, really, really commendable. And I really appreciate that. And something else I also noticed that software engineering isn't really something you can teach, in the sense that is either somebody really vibes with it or they don't vibe with it at all. And if you try to force someone who doesn't really vibe with it, it's going to be like, you know, very, very difficult. So usually when you see someone who was doing something else get into software engineering, there's something about that person that makes that person unique.
Man, for me, it's having kids.
So Lionel, the scope is like junior developers, and I think I'm going to go there. But right before I do, when are you going to be a senior, and what does that mean?
Man, I went through a back and forth on that. My lead developer, I didn't know he was watching my YouTube videos until he told me one time, because I would always say, I'm not calling myself a junior anymore. You know, half of my videos is really for entertainment, you know? So I was just kind of like, you can't take everything I say up there, you know, as my gospel. I'm a human still. But it was during a time where I was stuck on something for a long time. And I was going through that junior struggle that y'all probably know, where juniors don't like to ask for help because it shows their weakness. You know, you rather like stay up overtime all night, maybe even show up to the meeting with the awkward surprise of it not being done, when you should have sent a screenshot or a message or called the lifeline, and the senior can come and get you past that hurdle so the entire thing can move forward. And during my, you know, meeting for that, he said, I think that I know that you don't like calling yourself a junior. This is when I didn't call when I didn't call myself a junior. He said that. He said, I know you don't like calling yourself a junior, but I think that with that comes humility, comes being humble, admitting where you really are. And that's the best way to move forward and to do better and to, you know. So ever since then, because I didn't like calling myself a junior, I feel like that's, you know, degrading. But then after getting in trouble, I said, yeah, I guess I will try to be humble. And really, that put me on Leet Code, being able to pass a technical interview with flying colors, you know, being able to do all of the requirements that are required of a developer who doesn't call himself junior. But I also heard that like the minimum is 2 years. You know, I'm 8 months in. I see most of the job postings, they always start at least 2 years. They usually don't say under 2 years. So that's another thing that I think about, kind of makes me a junior.
So Odie's going to disagree with me because I think we've debated this already. I think it's going to sound very familiar when I bring it up. I would like to say, I don't think time is relevant to be a senior. Now, obviously, it's a factor because it takes time to realize anything, to realize any artifact, right? But honestly, I'll just give you a scenario of what I did, and maybe that likely doesn't mean that I was senior, but you ever hear the term "do it until you become it"?
Is that like a fake it till you make it?
Yeah. So in Cleveland, I was like, nah, I want to make senior money. Like these people, they're making like $80 an hour. I want that money, right? And I was like, how do I get that money? And the catch 22 is you got to have experience, right? But how are you gonna get experience if no one hires you? And so my strategy, right? You're gonna hear that word a lot from me. Was all right. Well, they can't deny me, or it'll be more challenging for them to deny me if I get a respected certification from Microsoft, right? That's how you defend against that. You can't tell me that I don't have it, right? How many people do have it? So I ended up going that channel. And the other part that I did, right, which is unintuitive, is I just moved to a different state and declared myself a senior. And the burden was on the community or on the industry to demonstrate that I wasn't. And I kind of lucked out with that. So, which no matter what, right? I'm about to try to give you game with emphasis on try. Is I sincerely believe it's harder to go from junior to senior when you work with the same group of people. Just like when you were a child, people are always going to view you by your nickname. They're always going to, they have a hard time detaching from it, right? And so sometimes you literally have to change your environment in order for people to view you a different way. And
True.
that's what I had to do. So
I
Like they're always gonna
vehemently,
remember me as little bro.
okay,
I vehemently disagree.
cool.
But I will say there's a part of it I agree with, which is time isn't what makes you senior, right? Some people you see that call themselves senior just have one experience that they've done for 9 years. They've been doing one thing for 9 years. And that is a form of seniority, but it's in that specific thing they're doing. You can't call them a senior software engineer because they haven't experienced anything outside of that small niche that they've been working on for 9 years. So don't be intimidated when you meet people who say, I'm a senior engineer. It's like, what have you been doing? Like, what experience do you have? You know what I mean? There are people, those guys, and software engineering is a really funny field because every 5 years, it's almost like there is a refresh that happens to the technology every 5 years. So if you are someone who has 10 plus years of experience, a good chunk of it is irrelevant. I know ActionScript, but nobody uses ActionScript anymore. I know Flash, nobody uses Flash anymore. Like, you see where I'm going to with this. So when you see someone that says, oh, I have 20 years of experience, don't feel intimidated because they probably have maybe a year or two experience in something like React, for example.
Right.
That's the first aspect. Now, where I disagree vehemently with Bizmonga is that there are arcs in there. You see these arcs when you've been long enough in the industry, right? You see arcs that happen where the industry does something a certain kind of way, and then we switch over to a different kind of way, and then we get burnt, and then we switch back. And the people who come in when we've switched back don't realize why we were burnt in the previous one, and they will now rehash old ideas as though it's new. Like, you get what I mean? And for you to see those arcs, time has to pass, because someone says that the definition of a senior engineer is someone who has stayed long enough to see their code come back to bite them in the ass. It's then you become a senior, because it's at that point you now realize that, oh, I thought I was smart before, but yeah, this is why this is not a good idea. And what that means is that when that person who becomes a senior joins a different team, not only are they going to tell you, don't do it this way, they can give you experience as to why you shouldn't do it this way. They have a depth of understanding that a new person doesn't really see, right? Especially when you come into an industry that likes complicated things like our industry, right? So as a junior, you'll be doing things because, yeah, that's what everybody does. But why are you doing it? No one knows. Yeah, we just do it because, yeah, this is the proper way to do it, right? But once you have had that whole cycle of you did something, you implemented it a certain kind of way, it came back to bite you in a specific kind of way, you learned from it, you improved your design, and then you iterated like 3, 4, 5 times. Only then can you say, I'm a senior. Now, to fall back to agree with Scott, right? There's something that happens in this industry as well, which is you get this sense of what's the word? I would say imposter syndrome, where you may have the experience to be a senior, you may have good experience to be competent, but you don't feel that way. And the reason you don't feel that way is because anytime you deviate just a little bit from what it is you're good at, all of a sudden you feel like a baby
Nothing
again.
works.
Everything you do is just bad, and you're struggling, and something doesn't quite make sense, and you are writing an exam and you're failing it, and it's like, oh my god, I've been a senior for 10 years. How come is this so hard? Maybe I'm just an imposter, right? And to those people, I would say just do what Scott did. Just declare that that's what's going to happen. Like, let me finish with this. Like, I was in Nigeria, right? In Nigeria, was paid very little. I had experience, and I was, working, and I told my coworkers, I'm going to work with Microsoft one day. Like, I just had that mind. I'm just going to work for Microsoft one day. And they all laughed. I laughed as well, because it was like, oh, come on, you where are you? But what happened was, once I was able to envision that future, it became easy to plot how to get there. So my dad used to say, any future that isn't connected to what you're doing today doesn't exist, right? So from that perspective, right, I said, okay, if I'm going to work in Microsoft, what do I need to do? Start following Microsoft people on Twitter, right? I followed a few guys, and next thing, before you know what's happening, I became popular enough that Microsoft employees started following me as well. So things started to feed back on themselves. Before I got a call, worked in a Swiss company, worked on databases, before getting a call to Amazon and working with, different companies. So the point is, you are never going to feel like a senior, right? It's not going to happen. You're going to, as a senior, I still make mistakes till tomorrow. You have to have that confidence, right, to state your ideas and even push back if a quote unquote senior pushes back on it. Because sometimes you may have the right idea, and just because they are senior, they can't see outside of their niche because they've spent so much time working on it. I'll give you one final example. I know I'm talking too much, but we were working on a huge project, massive project, and we were having problems processing terabytes of data through a database, and it was taking forever. And we kept struggling with this thing, trying stored procedures, trying advanced techniques, until someone who wasn't really a developer like that came and told us, hey, why don't you guys just use flat files? Just create a file and store the information in it. Why are you using a database? And we scoffed at the guy because, we are the seniors, quote unquote. And it turns out that the guy was right. Flat files are like, orders of magnitudes faster than, databases. Of course, the guy couldn't implement the things we needed to implement, but his fresh perspective was the game changer in that situation. So these are things to think about. If I was to go back in time and talk to myself, these are the things I would tell myself is, you're never going to feel like I've arrived, I know it now. It's never going to happen. You're always going to feel inadequate, but have the confidence to say, okay, I don't know everything, but this thing, I really understand it and I'm good at it. So yeah.
Right.
Okay, sorry, guys. He was cooking. I could not stop. There was nothing to react to. He was absolutely cooking. I'm gonna use some of that in the intro, man. Shout out to Odie. But here is a great part for me to stop. We're gonna break this up. People have been saying my videos is too long, but if you made it here to the end, man, you are a real one. Shout out to you. If you're not, please please subscribe and join the Discord. These guys are in the Discord, and lots of people like them. We have a lot planned for the rest of the year. I'm gonna make this a part 1 out of 3. I think I'm gonna do 3 to get through this entire thing. How junior developers become senior. Shout out to Odie, man. Let me think about what he was saying, like, was so key and interesting on advice of pushing through from a junior and taking on that perspective of you're never gonna feel like you know it all, but still keep pushing and that you are valued coming in with a fresh perspective. A lot to think on, man. That's why I think it's good that we go ahead and stop it here. Shout out to Tech Conception. I have to come back and mix it up with them again. Please follow them as well. Links are in the description. Join the stuff. I'll see y'all next time. Line of the Builder, and I'm out. Peace.